Hello and welcome to a new episode of 65 Wide. My name is Spencer Strikert and I am your host on this CFL podcast. And oh boy, it has been a minute. The last episode I said, remember when I said, hey, I'm going to get back into that regular schedule of every single Tuesday? Yeah, I wasn't able to do that. Life happens, things happen. I got really busy with football, with comedy. I had quite a few weekends where I was doing stand-up, or I was booked at music festivals for the radio station I work at. Things just got out of hand. But I got a big update because the team that I play for, the Calgary Gators, has qualified for the national title, which is taking place September 12th in Airdrie. That is the Canadian Major Football League championship. It's going to be against the Burlington Longhorns. I'm super excited about that, and I'm super excited for our guest today. You know him from his CFL content that is all over the internet. He's an absolute gem of a human being, and he also just started his own CFL podcast called Third and Short. You should definitely go check it out. He does really amazing recaps of each of the games of the week, any league updates. He does what I do, except in a serious way, but in still a lighthearted way. He's not just straight up making jokes about things that are happening in the league. He's actually going to be able to give you some insight into it. So I really highly recommend you go check that out. Of course, I'm talking about Zaky CFL. We're going to get to that interview in just a minute. There has been way too much that has happened in the league over the past month and a half for me to be able to recap it all right now. But what I will say, I was at the Stampede Bowl. I got to see Vernon Adams Jr. tie the franchise record for touchdowns in a game. It was an absolutely electric place to be in. That stadium was going nuts, and it felt really good to be in a CFL stadium like that, where it wasn't even totally full, but it felt like it was full. Other things that have happened, I mean, Ottawa still hasn't won a game. That's not even shocking at this point, but they did just get rid of their vice president. I'm sure that that's going to have a massive impact on being able to outscore other teams when your vice president is really the one that you need to get rid of. I will say, though, I have to correct myself from a few months ago because I said BC firing their special teams coordinator made no sense. And hey, look, they're doing amazing now. BC is looking like they're going to at least make it into the playoffs, and Nathan Rourke has found his rhythm again. So a lot's happened. We're going to get into actual recaps and jokes again next week, but for this week, I just wanted to do a really quick recap before we get into this interview. Like I said, Zaky CFL, wonderful human being, and honestly, this was one of my most favorite interviews to do. It just felt like a lot of fun. He's a stand-up comic. I'm a stand-up comic. We both love the CFL, and so we just were able to find this groove and this pattern within the interview, and I think it really shone through. So I hope that you enjoy it just as much as I do. Anyways, let's head to that interview right now. You've read the title. You know what this is about. Our guest today is a fellow CFL content creator who has been absolutely destroying the game so far with his viral reels discussing recaps in the league and some league history. He's also a stand-up comedian. He works for The Score, and he has previously worked for the Toronto Argonauts, although we will not hold that against him because he is a Hamilton Tiger Cats fan. Please welcome Zaky Sports. Zach, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you? I'm so excited to get on. I've been listening to the pod. I've been loving what you're doing.
Oh man, that means so much coming from you because I when I first saw your content, I got super excited because it felt like we both bring the same energy to the function. You know, we're both looking
100%.
at things with like, let's keep it light, let's keep people engaged. What kind of inspired you to want to start doing CFL content? Because I feel like we're probably gonna have the same reasons, which is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a couple of things like I've been making like broader sports content about everything for a long time, like doing a lot of stuff for The Score that was going well, but also last year I was like doing a lot of NFL stuff and it was not really gaining a lot of traction just because like it's just such a crowded marketplace. Just nobody wants to hear your NFL takes. Nobody is looking to learn anything about the NFL. It's like that market is saturated. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, man, you know what? I have a real special connection with the CFL. I've loved the CFL my entire life, and nobody has really making like especially social first content about the CFL. There's almost none of it out there. And I was like, wow, it's kind of crazy that this relatively huge league does not have any people that are getting in on this market that are talking about something that's so fun. And also there's a little bit of like, not to throw anybody specific under the bus, but it's like there's a specific tone about the way that people talk about the CFL that I've never really liked. So I kind of wanted to, like you said, make stuff that's like lighter about the CFL and more fun. So that's kind of how I got into it.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I felt very similar in terms of the content that was being made about the CFL because I find that a lot of it is very corporate and it's
Yeah,
very like journalistic integrity is first and foremost. And I think that's great for things that are super serious. But when it comes to talking about a sports league, especially one that is so fan focused, I like the reason for coming out with the podcast was I was like I'm kind of tired of hearing the same, four takes about every single game and just being like, where's the fun? Like, I want to hear about like the crazy story that happened after winning the Grey Cup. I want to hear about, those sorts of elements. So I guess this kind of leads into another question that I have for you because social first is such an interesting way of going about it because I think a lot of people get big picture right away and it's like I want to do this and you took it and you were like I'm going to bring it down, I'm going to bring it in, and that made me immediately when I saw you go, I bet this guy's a fucking comedian, and then it turns out that you are a stand-up comic. But it's a similar way of like, let's break it down and like let's start here with this kernel and then let's expand it to a really tight 5 and then let's take that and expand it to a 10. So what was kind of the process
100%.
like with when you started, how you figured out how you were going to make your videos?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know what? I might not even have pieced that together in my mind, that stand-up approach to doing the CFL stuff, but you're exactly right. Because when you start stand-up, it's like, okay, let me do an open mic. Okay, I got one joke from that open mic that was good. Let me take that one joke and like try and build another joke on top of it and try and build another joke. And it is the same thing with the CFL stuff. It's like the thing is like nobody is off the street gonna listen to like your hour and 30-minute long recap of the CFL because nobody cares about you. So why would anybody listen to it? But you can get people if you got a good hook, if you got a good story, if you have a little bit of energy, you can get people to watch a reel. And then it's like they watch one reel and they're like, well, hey, that's good. This guy, he says he's only going to talk about the CFL. So I know if I follow this, I'm not going to be like bombarded with a bunch of other stuff that I don't care about. So it's like, hey, I'll give him a follow. Hey, I'll give him a follow. And it's like, that's just how it's worked for every single video that I've made. It's like a couple more people follow on, a couple more people follow on. And it's a very like low ask. And if it ever gets to the point where people are like, holy shit, we need more, like I'll give it to them when it's the right time to do that, like that's how it's exactly like stand up, like you said.
Oh, 100%. And it's interesting that you said, like, when people want more, that's when you give them more. You always want them to be waiting for a little bit more. I feel like it's better to leave people waiting. And that was one of the notes that I got from somebody early on when I started the podcast was they were like, I like that your podcasts are like 30 minutes, they're done. And it's like,
Yes.
again, it comes back to that stand-up thing of like shorter is better. Get to the fucking point. Let's not drag it out. And on top of that, I don't want to waste a guest time. I don't want somebody to be sitting across from me going, fuck, I'm answering the same 20 questions I got asked by TSN and Three Down Nation, and now this dork in Calgary's asking me this.
It's also just think about the listeners' time, right? Like I have a lot of podcasts I listen to. I got a lot of stuff that's going on. I don't have like all this time to listen to stuff. But if you're like, hey, we can give you everything that you need to get in this very short amount of time, like every week I make the like everything you need to know about week 8 in the CFL, and it's like a 2-minute video, and it's like if you're a Rough Riders fan and usually you only follow the Rough Riders, but you're kind of interested in what else is going on, it's like, bam, 2 minutes. You're going to know all the major storylines in the league. If you happen to be watching a game next week, you'll be able to tune in and roughly know what's going on. It's like, that's actually what people are looking for.
Oh, totally. And actually, I want to build off of what you just said because there are those fan bases like Winnipeg, like Hamilton, like Saskatchewan, where there is like almost a homogenized culture of like, we only follow what is happening with our team. And I find that in this day and age, age with our access to information, it feels like now is the time for it to expand and to grow. What do you think are like two of the biggest things that could help the CFL attract those new fans? Because I've noticed starting to get into the CFL now that were never interested before, which I think is really cool to see.
Well, I think the big thing like is storytelling. Like that's the big thing. Like if you look at, especially with like sports media just in general right now, it's like that's what people want. People want to know the stories so that they have an active engagement when they get into things, which is like even if it's I made a video this week earlier this week on like Caden Salter, and he's like he was the quarterback at Colorado after Shadur Sanders, and like he had a 13-0 season at Liberty. And because the CFL doesn't have like what we're talking about, this sort of like robust ecosystem of people talking about this stuff all the time, a lot of that stuff gets missed. So if you have the opportunity to actually connect and humanize the players around the league and like understand their stories and also just like understand the fact that like these guys are unreal. People are not aware of how good the players in the CFL are. Like these guys are phenomenal athletes. They're doing crazy things. Like so if you're able to build out those stories and get people to understand that, I think people are going to be able to connect a lot more. And the second thing is like ironically about creating new fans that I've been doing is like I'm not even really that interested in creating new fans. Like, I don't think that like the impetus is on like, oh, we gotta bring people in. We gotta bring people in. If you're like let's say you're like the cool group of kids at school, everybody wants to be friends with you, right? Because you already have a bunch of shit that's already going on within your friend circle. And I think that's kind of what the CFL has to have too, where it's like, I'm going to talk about the CFL as a fan, as somebody who's already loving it. And yes, maybe I'm in the middle of a conversation that people that are not following the CFL are not in. But if they're like, whoa, I don't really know what this guy's talking about, but this sounds awesome, then they can join in the middle of the conversation and they'll eventually catch up. So I think if you are telling the stories and you're just treating it as something that you love and like sharing your love for it, people are going to be infected by that and they're going to want to be a part of the story and they're going to catch up in any way that they have to catch up.
Going back to because I watched one of your videos where you talked about your journey into becoming full on Zaky Sports, right? And like the coolest part about it that I thought was that you started with stand up, then you went to journalism school, and now like you're still doing stand up. Like I've seen you post show posters. What's kind of your what do you think is like the number one thing you learned from stand up that you've been able to apply to not just the content that you're making, but like to journalism in general?
Well, I mean, you learn a lot about storytelling in stand up. Like, even if you're not telling stories as a stand up, the construction of a set and like how you have, like, if you're doing stand up, your first sentence basically should be a joke. Like, you should establish like your perspective and who you are right off the bat with something interesting so that people are able to connect with you throughout the rest of the set. And then as you go along, you have more of an opportunity to get more in depth into things when you've already like gained the trust from people. So I think like taking my stand-up brain and my like joke telling and setup punchline and front loading everything that I do with that element and bringing that energy right off the top, so getting people invested in you right away, it gives you more of this leeway as things goes on to be able to tell the story. So I think that's a huge thing that I brought to it. And it's also just like it's like you talked about with the CFL, it's like we need the journalistic people, we need the people that are covering the league in a heavy way, but also it's like that's not what people always want. People do want you to be yourself. They want to feel you in the stories. They want to be able to connect with you as an individual. So having journalistic standards and practices in the way that I'm structuring things, in the way that I'm like making sure that I'm crediting the right places and going through these stories in the right way, putting that all in a casing of like, hey, here's Zaky Sports, here's what I do, here's my vibe. And I think those things are really coming together as that's what I've been doing.
You know what? I love the word. It's synergy, baby. That's
Yeah.
pure synergy. And
Mhm.
I think it's interesting that all of what you said I totally agree with. I want to throw into talking about some specific players now. First off, we got a connection as a Stamps fan, as a Hamilton fan. Big Bobo. I mean, Bo
Yeah.
Levi Mitchell, like there's no one else that I think in the past 15 years that is going to be as iconic. And this is a personal take. I mean, granted, I could be fucking wrong. Somebody's gonna get it at me in the comments and be like, "Nah, man, you're way off base." But I feel like his like consistent level of playing over the past 15 years has been super impressive to watch in not just one team, but two teams in both conferences of the league. What do you think of like who are like your guys, I guess would be my next question.
I do think Bo Levi Mitchell, I was actually just thinking about it recently. It's like that's probably like my favorite CFL player, maybe of all time. Like he's pretty close in that category. Just because, like you said, of how he's been so good for so long and the way that he plays, and he's clutch wins in big games and just his attitude. That's the biggest thing. Like that is actually what got me so excited early in the season is like Bo Levi is going out there absolutely slicing and dicing the defense. And then he is right in your face. He's talking shit. He's like hitting a dance. It's like, it's the exact kind of attitude that you want to have in the CFL with his like, there is always this ragtag element of Canadian football, which is why I love Canadian football so much. And Bo Levi just perfectly illustrates it. So Bo is definitely up there. Like, who are my
I
guys?
I do
That's
have to say before we move on from Bo, I just remembered why I brought it up. He is probably never going to come on the podcast, and I and it's not because of anything like exceptionally bad. But when he was playing in Calgary, I hosted a really terrible radio show, like back in university, and I asked him on Instagram DMs multiple times if he would come on. He didn't read any of them, and I don't know why. But I also added pictures of myself in front of a microphone, which is
just to like
like
show him like I am a professional, just so you know. We
I
have
am a
microphones.
professional broadcaster. I've got this covered. And I went to DM him about coming on the podcast, and I just have to read this because it's so
I
insane.
can't wait
And
to hear it.
I genuinely like felt the cringe coming out of my body as I was reading these messages to him. It was bad. There was a
Oh
novel,
no. Oh no.
and it
It's so
doesn't.
long.
It's
Oh
so
my God.
long.
Why is it so long?
Man, I have. Oh, and there was more pictures at the top. I sent him the
Oh
same picture
no.
3 times, but I said,
Say,
"Hey,
hey, Bo,
man,
I host a radio show. Would you like to come on? Like, it's really not that complicated.
it really isn't." And that's how I've gotten
He's
everybody
he's
else
a nice
on.
guy. I've talked to him on Instagram. He's nice. Like he's easy to talk to, you know?
He's
Like,
so nice. He was way
yeah.
too kind in what he responded with because I said, "Hey, man, if you see this, please disregard these cringy messages from 10 years ago. I'm an actual radio host and comedian now, and I really can't believe I sent this. I was going to invite you onto the podcast for an interview, but after seeing this, I would never have the audacity." And then he said, "Dude, I don't even know what the other messages are. All good." He for sure knew what the other messages were. He was just being kind.
He
Sorry,
had
I
those
didn't mean to
bookmarked
distract
100%.
there, but I had to get that out.
No, but you know what? That's a really see, that's another thing that people don't know about the CFL. One thing I think that people don't understand is like for me growing up, I never had a difference between CFL and NFL in my mind. Like I'm a huge NFL fan. I'm a huge CFL fan, but there was never like association of like the NFL's better or the CFL's better or anything like that. It was like if I met Anthony Calvillo and I met Peyton Manning, I would feel the same way meeting those two guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that I think that's something that people don't recognize because like the great thing about the CFLs, there's so much history. There's all of this stuff that's gone on. There's all these players that like if you actually watch the games, it's easy to recognize how great they are. Like Bo Levi Mitchell stands in contrast to a million other guys we've watched Ben Sankey back throughout the days or whatever, whoever it is. No offense to Ben Sankey, but like I think that like that's a really cool thing that a lot of people don't get about the CFL. It's like these guys are to me they're just the same. There's just the same prestige. There's I feel I would get goosebumps hanging around with Bo Levi Mitchell, even though Bo Levi Mitchell probably walks around feeling like he's pretty normal, everyday kind of guy, right?
Totally. And I feel like that's something that, like you said, it's what separates the league in a way, in that is more of a community oriented one. Like for instance, when John Cornish was playing for the Stamps, he was also working at a bank in Calgary. I mean, like that's like, could you imagine going to deposit your check and then all of a sudden, one of the greatest CFL running backs
Yeah.
of all time is like, do you want this in checking or savings? Like, that's fucking
I remember
wild.
there was a season. Sandy Beveridge was a safety for the Ticats for a really long time, like really great player. Also crazy name, Sandy Beveridge. But
Little dry.
yeah, yeah. He retired from the CFL because he got a job as a firefighter and he couldn't do both at the same time. And I was like, man, I love the CFL. Just like the only pro sports league where it's like, I got a better job. I'm sorry, I have to go. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and it's like, but that kind of stuff is awesome. And like I said, it does not like it doesn't make me feel any different about Sandy Beveridge. I've still, if I saw him, I would be absolutely thrilled to see him. I still have all these great memories about him. It's like, I think that's what's really cool about this.
Well, and there's those stories too, like Gizmo obviously retired in Edmonton and became a high school coach, and and has like stayed in the community. And I feel like the thing is, that story though, about Sandy Beveridge proves how much the players that are in the CFL love the game. And it's like that, I think, is what on a personal level makes me appreciate it more than the NFL, because the NFL at a certain point, like if you're, making $30 million a year, you're there's nothing better than that. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But like your love of the game might not be at the same level as it is when you're, making $70,000 a year. Like and that's a big stark contrast.
Look at like Willie Jefferson. Like, obviously, I mean, he's made really good money throughout his CFL career at this point, but he's like 35 and he's still playing in the CFL. And him and his family have permanently moved to Winnipeg, Manitoba, which from the States, which is absolutely insane. Or like, I heard a story earlier this year on TSN broadcast about Kenny Lawler and his wife had a son who has autism, and they had their son in the States and they had their son in Canada. And the way that Canada handled their son's situation, they found was much better for him. So they've decided to permanently like plant their flag in Canada, living here for the rest of their lives. And it's like, that is so rich and incredible. And it's like, I love Canada and I think it's such a great country. And I love CFL football. If you watch CFL football, it's almost impossible not to fall in love with it. It's like
Oh yeah.
everything about the game is just so great. It's like the guys are a little bit strange, but they're also amazing athletes. The it's more exciting, it's fast paced, it's lots of scoring, it's back and forth. It's like weird. You're just gonna like the Red Blacks and the Alouettes are just gonna like play 3 weeks in a row in the middle of June, and it's like whatever. Like that's what we're doing, and it's just it's so good that it's so weird.
I completely agree, and I think that something that I really appreciate about the CFL is the fact that it kind of feels like if college ball, in terms of a fan base, it's like there's a lot of ball teams that you could compare in terms of what the fans are like, what the fans their investment in it, but on a personal level feels a little less weird because you're not cheering for an 18-year-old boy,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
cheering
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
you're cheering for a man, damn it, this is a
Yeah.
man sport.
And and that's why it's like these things that all we're talking about and like talking about why I wanted to make content, why I wanted to do all this stuff. It's like one thing that really bothered me about CFL stuff that I've seen is like a lot of the conversations come back down to like revenue and attendance and rule changes and like all of these things. And it's like those need to be talked about. I understand. And it's like, I'm glad that some people have a platform for that. But I know personally, for me as a fan, I've never cared about any of those things. It's never impacted the way that I look at the CFL. It's never, if you go to a Hamilton Tiger Cats game, it's impossible not to have an incredible Friday night. Like it's so much fun. The games are so much fun to watch. And the fact that I was looking for a podcast where I'm like, is there a podcast I can find where I can get away from all of that? Or like, here's how we're going to save the CFL and just get right into like the games. I love the games. I love the players. I love what's going on the field. I don't care about the suits. I don't care about the TV deals. I don't care about any of that. I just love the games.
Yeah, and I feel that something that is also, I think, important to mention with that is, like you said, it's important to have those serious discussions about it. But I think that it's almost more important to highlight the fact that Winnipeg's now what, like 30 games sold out in a row, or like, let's talk about those benchmarks, because that's going to inspire other fan bases to be like, oh fuck, they're doing good and they're sold out. Let's get the family and go to the stadium. And it's also
And
more
and
accessible in terms of financially.
yes, 100%. 100%. So much more accessible, which is awesome. And the CFL is a miracle. It's a miracle that there is the only football league that exists outside of the NFL. Every other football league has crashed and burned spectacularly, and the CFL has been around for 100 years. It is one of the it is the most successful Canadian league, Canadian sports league ever. The NHL is mostly American at this point. It's such a crazy anomaly. And you look at how many people watch it and how many people tune into the Grey Cup. It is like the CFL is like a steaming, burning success. But it just doesn't get viewed that way because there are other things that are more successful. But it's like it is insane that the CFL exists and it's great.
Okay, I do want to go back to that previous one that I fucked up and went on a diversion on. When we're talking about all time players, like
Yeah.
who are your guys? Because like I want to throw a
Okay.
random one out there. Ron
Okay, let's hear it.
Lancaster.
Ron Lancaster.
Man, we're going all the way back to the 60s on that one.
Wow.
But
So
I
I love Ron Lancaster. Ron Lancaster was the head coach of the Tiger Cats in 1999 when the Tiger Cats won the Grey Cup, which is basically like 99 2000 was kind of like when I became alive, is like when I first was cognizant of CFL football or like my memories. So even from that time, like around those teams, like I love Joe Montford. Joe Montford was for sure my first ever favorite player, just like the pipes like coming out of the uniform. Darren Flutie is my favorite Flutie, actually. I wasn't really young enough to witness Doug Flutie play in the CFL, but I was young enough to witness Darren Flutie, who is absolutely amazing receiver. And then some other guys from not the Ticats. There was I really liked the Renegades when the Renegades came out. That was very exciting to me. So there were two guys from the Renegades. There was Josh Ronick, the little ball of hate, and Kerry Joseph. I loved Kerry Joseph. Kerry Joseph was like, I'm a sucker for running quarterbacks, like any running quarterbacks. So Kerry Joseph and Henry Burris, like Henry Burris he's maybe my favorite quarterback of any quarterback ever. You know,
yeah. No, as
like
soon as you mentioned Henry Burris, it just made me go, no, right, no, actually, I gotta change my answer.
he's impossible not to like Smiling Hank. He's so happy all the time, and he just did everything. It's just like he's gonna throw crazy bombs down the field. He's gonna run all around. He just had that. There was a joy in the way that he played football. So that's obviously a guy that stands out. A tight cat that stands out, Luke Tasker. I don't know if you remember Luke Tasker,
Ooh.
but he was absolutely awesome for the Ticats. And his dad, Steve Tasker, was like Buffalo Bills legend, which was I always thought was really cool. Trying to think of some other guys. Kenton Keith, a guy that played for the and Corey Holmes, two guys that played for the Rough Riders back in the day, like little scat backs. Milt Stiegel, obviously a huge one. Charles Roberts, another really good one. Um, and then right now in the league, like I don't know, who are your guys right now in the league?
Right now, I hate to say it because it's an Edmonton player that I'm going to bring up first, but Justin Rankin, I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus, that is his story has just been such a cool one to watch, and to see him this year has been incredible. I mean, when it comes to other guys in the league, I mean, yeah, you can't count out guys like Trevor Harris,
Trevor
Vernon
Harris is
Adams
awesome.
Jr. I mean, Vernon
51 years
Adams
old, which is
is
crazy.
also fucking crazy. Yeah, that has to be my favorite running gag that you've got in your videos. And I love telling who has like been around since the
Yeah.
beginning, because like
Yeah.
some people get very upset
The
about
people are
misaging him.
they're actually mad. Like I'm getting like DMs from people that are being like, Trevor Harris is not 51 years old. And for anybody that doesn't know, like I said Trevor Harris was like 47, I think, in one of my very early videos. And Trevor Harris was like, holy shit, like 47, that's crazy, bro. And I was like, oh, I was just gonna do a bit where I make your age older every single week. And he's like, okay, good. I hope I'm 60 by the end of the season. So it's like my goal is to get him to 60. So every week I'm like, Trevor Harris, 51 years old, and it's just it's great for engagement. It's so
Oh,
good because I get all these comments of people being like, he's 40. And then I just start, I'm like going back now too, where I'm like, you can't prove that he's 40. And then people are like sending me Wikipedia screenshots. And I'm like, you edited that. That's AI generated. He's 51 years old. That's a stone cold fact.
it's so funny because like I there was like 2 days in a row where I got into like a joke engagement beef in other people's comment
Yeah,
sections.
yeah,
Yours
yeah,
was one
yeah.
of them. And it was like just every time somebody responded, I was like counterpoint with something like I was like, no, 40 is his jersey number. You're wrong. Like I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, how do you not see that?
how do you not see that, guys? Come on, it's in the highlight reel. No, I would say Trevor Harris is another one. When we talk about I would say Eric Roscoe, for the Stamps linebacker. He's been fun
Hmm.
to watch. And also, uh, I gotta throw some love to some special teams folks because I feel like the two guys that I've had on the podcast from the Stamps, Rene Paredes. I mean, he's a first round Hall of Famer for sure. There's
Yeah,
no question
yeah.
about it. And then Jason McGugan is just an incredible long snapper. Kenny Lawler is
You
also really fun to watch.
Kenny
Uh,
Lawler's awesome.
he's
You know who
just
my
so
favorite player is, though? My favorite player, I've been thinking about this. I know who my favorite player in the CFL is. It's Stone Cold Tommy Stevens. That's my
oh
favorite player in Canadian football. The fact that the Riders have started playing the Stone Cold theme after Tommy Stevens comes in for because I think the wedge play is my favorite current part of the CFL. It's just it's preposterous. It happens so often. I don't know who decided that it was the backup quarterbacks that do it, but I think it's genius that every team has a guy on their roster, and these roster spots are so coveted in the CFL. Every team has a guy on their roster whose only job is to run the quarterback sneak. That is just that's football. That's football.
it's
And then
so
Thomas Stevens comes in and he like breaks it free. And I'm always like, me and my dad are always getting pissed off because we're like, they'll bring the guys in on like 2nd and 1, and they'll run the QB sneak, and it's like let's like throw it or like we need more creativity on the wedge play. Like, can we see? Because now they have like the thing where like they're running the wedge and the guy like the fullback like runs up to the line. It's like you could run an option off that. Like if you had the fullback like coming from the right side and then it was running to the left and then you snapped it and the quarterback and the fullback went out here and you could throw the option like a little more creativity on the QB sneaks.
yeah, but at the same time, uh, don't fix what ain't broken. You know,
It's true.
at a certain point, I also think it's insane to have a defense, to have every defense crumble with the 1 yard QB sneak every single time. Like that's crazy. Like that's
Well, it's the yard off the ball, right? It's the yard off
yeah.
the ball, so it's such a huge advantage. But that being said, when it flips, when the defense makes a stop, and it happens so rarely, but when it happens, it is electric. Like if you're in the stadium, if you're in the stands at Tim Hortons Field or Ivor Wynn or Hamilton Stadium or whatever the hell they're calling it these days, if you're in the stands and the team makes a stop on 3rd and 1, that will get you juiced up.
Oh, absolutely. I do have to say one thing that just made me think of a point out. Two things, and these are my last two points. The pill pots. I gotta say, those are
Yes.
also incredible
Yes.
players to watch.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like literally it can be week to week interchangeable as to who's my favorite because it really is. They're both highlight real players.
They're
But
awesome.
the other thing I was gonna say is it's funny how the only fucking team so far to figure out Justin Rankin has been the BC Lions, whose defense has been atrocious
Terrible.
everywhere else. And so it's like it is that like once you find that kryptonite, it's like they just really twist the screw and just really get it in there as much as they can. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, man. This has been a hell of a lot of fun. Please tell the people where they can find you on Instagram and everywhere because your content is amazing. It's so much fun, and I've been enjoying watching it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm at Zaky CFL, so Zaky CFL on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. A lot of people are calling me Zaky, which I realize is my fault, but my name is Zach. It's okay to call me Zach. But then a lot of people are like, "Hey, Zaky," and it's like, "Oh, I didn't really think of the consequences of being Zaky Sports was calling me Zaky, which is like what my wife calls me, you know what I mean?"
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm on all of those platforms, and yeah, if I think if you're wanting to know more about the CFL, there's lots of good stories there. There's also the cool thing about it is there's always lots of comments, there's always lots of engagement, there's always lots of opportunity to talk to other CFL fans and kind of just shoot the shit. It's a little bit of like a message board as much as it is like a social page, so there's lots of fun to be had there.
Amazing. Well, yeah, absolutely. Go follow. I'll have all the links below. But also, I want to say if you ever get merch, you got to get Zacky sacks, like hacky
Zacky
sacks
Sacks.
with
Oh,
Zacky
I love
Sports on
that. I
them.
like that. I like
Yeah,
that. I like that.
right?
I like that. Zacky Sacks is great.
All right. Well,
People can
we're gonna
call me
get out of
Zacky
here.
too if they want. It's fine. Yeah,
You know
but
what? We're gonna refer to you by your legal name.
I love it.
All right. Well, thanks once again, man. Have a great one.